Good afternoon to my entire Jeunesse Australasia family as I welcome you to October, which for us will be the month of AMPM, featuring the Nobel Prize nominee and Jeunesse Scientific Advisory Board member, Dr. Giampapa. Throughout October, we will be bringing you a 4-part masterclass series on all things AMPM. We will look at the power of AM, we will look at the power of PM. We will look at AMPM for immune enhancement and AMPM for lifestyle intervention. I am so excited to bring you this 4-part masterclass and to be spending the time hearing about the power of AMPM from Dr. Giampapa himself. Dr. Giampapa is a pioneer in his field. He is one of the first board-certified anti-aging physicians in the world, internationally recognized as an innovator in new cosmetic and surgical techniques and instrumentation. He is a founding member of the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine and served as the first president of the American Board of Anti-Aging Medicine. Dr. Giampapa has been awarded many patents from the United States government for unique cell culture delivery techniques, as well as new drug delivery systems and surgical instrument designs. Dr. Giampapa is published in numerous academic journals and is the author of the very first and only medical textbook on anti-aging medicine and age management for aesthetic surgeons. It is an absolute honor to be in his presence today. Thank you for being with us today, Dr. Giampapa.
Well, Rachel, it's my pleasure, and I want to say good afternoon to everybody in Australasia. And I'm really excited about being able to do this multi-part series because there's so much information to give about AMPM and to really clarify the science and the concepts behind this product. And before we get started, just so you know, there's a brand new AMPM brochure that's 6 pages of loaded with information, most of which I'm going to touch on today. So please make sure you request a copy of that from the corporate office. So with that, I think we'll get started. So, you know, vitamins and minerals have been a point of focus since the 1930s when we first realized at the science level that the body, the human body, needs specific type of vital amines. And that's where the concept of vitamins started back then. But up until I would say I came up with this idea of a whole new source and type of supplementation for cellular function, there really had been no changes. So my research work in stem cells was the first time we started to look at how the environment and how certain things can actually turn certain genes on and other genes off or lower in activity. And that is really the secret behind AMPM, amongst a number of other things. But with that in mind, I want to get started and show you exactly why AMPM is an evolutionary step beyond just vitamins and minerals. So this is the first nutraceutical or combinations of natural ingredients that we now even have some significant information to show that this product actually impacts the genes involved in cellular aging. And we're going to go dive into that in detail as we move forward in today's presentation. So AMPM is really positioned as the foundation of the YES system. Now, why is that? And that's because AMPM has been designed to help enhance or upgrade, if you will, the function of both our body cells and our stem cells. And this goes way beyond what vitamins and minerals alone have ever been able to do. So by enhancing the quality or the efficiency and function of our body cells and stem cells, this allows the other products in the YES system to even work more efficiently. So AMPM has been, without a question, described as one of the most experiential products in the YES system. And so let's take a look at why that it's earned that reputation and why it creates those effects. So in the human body, there's 100 trillion cells. On each one of those cells, there's 3 feet of DNA. Now that's enough DNA to go from the Earth to the moon and back again multiple times. So we need to start thinking about the dramatic quantity and amount of DNA we have, because we're going to be looking at DNA in a slightly different, actually completely different focus in just a minute. Now, our body cells or somatic cells are the cells that allow our body to function on a daily basis. And those are the cells we see, our skin, our hair, our nails, our muscles. These are our body cells. But underlying that group of cells, and virtually within every organ of the body, as well as mainly in our bone marrow areas, are another group of cells called adult stem cells. Now, those cells are really the regenerative potential that we all inherit when we're born. And by the way, we are born with a fixed number of stem cells. So every one of us has a slightly different kind of quantity of these stem cells. And it's very important to try to help keep those cells working functionally and keep them from being damaged. So the longer they last, the longer they'll work to keep us healthy and well. You know, as we age from youth going to adolescence to mature adult, we use up a significant amount of those stem cells that we have inherited. But that's called positive aging because that's what allows us to reach to a point as adult where we're in optimal health, where our immune system is functioning well, our mind, our memory, our muscles, bones, and cartilage are also working ideally. Now, once we hit our late 30s, except for some people even earlier, we start to lose the function and the number of our stem cells. And as that happens, we start to slowly decrease in the quality of our health and the youthful function we have. Now, unfortunately, at the same time, the damaged cells that accumulate in our body start to increase in number. And those damaged cells, which we call senescent cells or very old cells, actually help or cause our healthy cells to age quicker. So the goal here in any cellular supplement is to help keep those stem cells in ideal shape and to keep the number of those damaged cells to a minimum. So what is a new view about what our DNA is? So DNA is like a computer program in reality, but far, far more advanced than any software we've ever created. And this isn't my quote, but this is Bill Gates's quote from a number of years ago. And frankly, with this new perspective of what DNA is and actually is analogous to, it's changed our whole approach to creating new supplements and to cellular therapies in general. You know, just like a computer program, a software in your program can crash, or even your iPhone can crash when it gets a virus, so does our DNA software begin to malfunction with age. As the DNA itself suffers damage or is infected by a virus, or if you live in a suboptimal environment, or even if your lifestyle isn't optimal, you'll notice that the DNA in each one of those cells starts to work less efficiently. Now, here's another very important piece of information. There seems to be two main, if you will, genetic software programs inside our DNA. The first program is a general cell function program. That is the genetics to help keep our cells working ideally, functioning ideally. And the second program has to do with a morning and an evening genetic program that helps, for instance, in the morning helps us have more energy and stay focused mentally. And in the evening helps us sleep and repair the damage to our cells, as well as help with detoxification. Now, those are genetically programmed software programs, so if you will, inside our DNA. And so with these two thoughts in mind, when we look at AM and PM, today we're going to focus on AM. We look at this genetic software program, the AM software program, that's all about allowing us to have more energy in the morning, feel more refreshed, mentally focused, and be able to meet the challenges of a 21st century lifestyle. So this whole concept of AM, PM software programs or genetic software programs is called chronobiology or timed biology. And it seems to have been built into each one of those 100 trillion cells in our body probably close to 500,000 years ago, when our ancestors had to be alert and awake and mentally sharp to avoid being eaten alive by the animals of the time that were present when we evolved. And the PM formula was all about being able to recover from the day's trauma, the day's exercise the day's adventures, and repair the damage to our cells, and also detoxify our bodies. So today, with a focus on the AM software, we're going to talk a lot about how the ingredients. We're going to talk about a lot about how this works. But before we do that, the secret here is to keep in mind about these two software programs, the AM program and the genetic software program for the PM. So in the AM, it's recommended we take, when I designed this program, we should be taking 2 of the AM tablets in the morning. Now that actually impacts what hormones levels are more optimal. It impacts different components of our cells that make ATP, which is the energy component to our cells. It helps, for instance, turn on the neurotransmitters in our brain that helps our memory and our focus. So taking 2 AMs in the morning jumpstart that genetic software program for the daytime. Now in the evening, and ideally we want to take this with breakfast, and we want to take the PM products within about a half hour after we eat. And the other reason is I've designed into AM PM Essentials a series of digestive enzymes, which as we age, those also decrease in quality and quantity. So AM and PM has digestive enzymes for fats, proteins, carbohydrates, and even vegetables. So we have amylase, protease, lipases, cellulases. So in essence, when you take AM and PM close to or with your meals, you're getting more nutritional value out of the food you eat. So there's all of these key concepts were designed into the creation of this formula. But let me make a comment. I usually take 2 AMs in the morning. I take another AM at lunchtime, and sometimes 2 if I really need a little extra energy. And frankly, at night I take 2 PMs. And if I'm traveling, I might take 3 or 4 PMs to help adjust for jet lag. Now, if you're a very small person, like 90 or 100 pounds, you might do fine with 1 AM and 1 PM. Or if you're a big guy, 250 pounds and 6 feet 2 or 3 or 4 inches, you might need 3 or 4 AMs and 3 or 4 PMs. So the secret here is AM and PM can be adjusted personally based upon your size, your lifestyle, and how you respond to the ingredients. So keep in mind, AM PM can be personalized based on how you feel the impact of the product. So explore, experiment with it, and find out what's your right number of AMs, PMs, and whether if you take an extra 1 or 2 AMs in the afternoon, you're going to notice a dramatic improvement in your energy levels as well. So this helps personalize the use of AM PM. So the human body has 2 types of settings for its nervous system. It's called the sympathetic system. And if you remember, S, sympathetic for speed, okay? And P, parasympathetic, is really to be palatable, to be sleeping and to rest. Okay, so these are very important things to keep in mind. Today we're focusing on the sympathetic system, which creates the energy and focus we need as we grow older, and even if we're young. Okay, so what happens when we age is this neurological, if you will, built-in system switches, and our parasympathetic system seems to become dominant in the daytime, which is why we're really kind of tired and sleepy, and the sympathetic system becomes active at night, which is one of the reasons why we can't sleep. So AM PM has been designed to help restore the balance between these 2 systems as well. So what's inside the 2 tablets for energy and focus? You know, this whole concept of nutrition and cellular needs has changed dramatically over the last 4 to 5 years with the concept of epigenetics. And we're going to, it sounds like a big fancy word, but it's very, very simple to understand. So right now, if we look at the key components of AM, we're going to find that there's a whole source of anti-inflammatory compounds. These have to do with the right balances of fatty acids, omega-3, omega-6, omega-9, evening primrose oil, and there's also compounds that help form the basis of our neurotransmitters, which things like epinephrine, norepinephrine, acetylcholine, and so we give the body the building blocks it needs for energy and mental focus. Now, the gene activity is another key thing. And as I said, AM/PM is really the first epigenetic program, nutritional supplement. And epigenetic simply means specific ingredients can turn on or off or turn down or turn up specific genes in our body that are beneficial to more healthy aging, and that are can actually turn off the genes that accelerate aging as well as we grow. So green tea, a green barley extract, gotu kola, royal jelly, these are things that also help with gene activation and energy formation. Now, there's other compounds that help with mitochondrial energy compounds. These are the mitochondria, tiny little energy factories, and there's hundreds of thousands of them in each cell. This is where ATP, or our cellular energy, is manufactured, and things like CoQ10, L-carnitine, alpha-lipoic acid all help not with ATP only, but with mental focus. Antioxidants, which help buffer free radicals, things like blue-green algae, spirulina, seaweed extracts, help maintain stem cell function and stem cell maintenance. And then, for instance, thyroid support for maintaining a more ideal body energy, body composition are here as well. And lastly, I mentioned amylases, proteases, lipases, cellulases, things that help you get more nutritional value out of each meal that you eat. So when you look at this, you're starting to get an idea that what sets AM/PM apart from any other, quote, vitamin mineral supplement. Now, one of the things we noticed with AM and PM, for instance, we did a survey of over 300 people. And we looked at, we had them score themselves for energy, sleep, focus, mental focus, health, and stress. And in 8 weeks, the vast majority of people had tremendous energy improvements. But at 12 weeks, their energy improvement increased even better and seemed to plateau at that. Now, here's the other thing. With PM, sleep seemed to be the biggest impact. 88% of people slept better. And in our next series, we're going to talk about the importance of sleep. Mental focus increased 58% with the people surveyed. Health, that means getting sick less often. 50% of people said that occurred with them. And stress, now this is very important because stress is one of the biggest accelerators of aging in general, but 62% of people said they felt noticeably better with less stress. So this is a combination of natural ingredients creating an amazing improvement in quality of people's lives. So what is epigenetics? Okay, let's take a quick course in epigenetics. So inside each one of these 100 trillion cells in our body, are on the surface of those cells are little receptor sites. Think of them as little parking lots. And if one of the ingredients, let's just use, for instance, swallow that, it goes into our stomach, it goes into our small intestine, and it absorbed into our bloodstream, travels through our body, and lands on one of these tiny little receptors on the surface of the cell, and it creates a signal, as you can see here. So what happens here is that signal actually will activate different genes and either turn those genes up, their activity, or turn their activity down. So what happens, that signal then goes into the cell and lands on one of those little chromosomes. So I want you to think of your arm. Let's take a look at my arm here. I have my jacket on, right? So when I pull my sleeve up on my jacket, you see my blue shirt. This is my DNA. This is the chromosome which covers the genes. So really what happens, that signal causes the sleeve that covers our DNA to be exposed. And guess what? Now the genes are ready to be either turned up or turned down. So once that sleeve opens, that ingredient will then also stimulate another enzyme that causes the DNA to be copied. And that DNA is called RNA polymerase. So the DNA is the code. It's not what turns on the code. What turns on the code is our environment, the supplements we eat, and a host of other things we'll talk about in a minute. But once that area of the DNA is opened up, this particular enzyme is activated. It's floating in the solution in our cells, and it will create a protein, okay? A protein that's either positive or negative. And that protein will actually leave the cell, and that protein will then create a series of either hormones or tissues, or actually go to repair damaged areas of the body. So proteins create other compounds that help balance the body and keep it in a more healthy state. So the environment, and we're going to talk about more and more how important the environment is, which is what really dictates our state of health and longevity. So one of the things we wanted to see this past year was, gee, if we really could prove that AM/PM is making a difference at the level of genes, this would be a tremendous positive impact on creating credibility behind the concept, but also behind the reason why maybe people feel so much better when they take this product. So what we did is we created an animal study, and we took specific cells from animals, the same animal models we do when we look at how are the effects of a new pharmaceutical drug. And we use the same models, and we put the ingredients of AM/PM into the media that these cells were growing in. But we wanted to look at something specific. What did AM/PM do to the genes involved in longevity, which are the SIRT1 genes? These are also involved in DNA repair. And we wanted to look at what did AM/PM do with, for instance, the genes that are involved in stem cells making copies of themselves and turning into different types of tissue, muscle, bone, cartilage. So we chose the NANOG and the ECAT genes. And to our amazement, even as early as the first 3 to 4 days, we noticed that the genes that were unactive when we started, at the end of even 3 or 4 genes, the genes for longevity and extended health, DNA repair, were dramatically increased. The genes for stem cell function and differentiation were increased. Well, this was a shocking but amazing, happily surprise. Then when we looked at PM, when we looked at the PM genes, we found exactly the same thing, but PM seemed to work even stronger on the stem cell genes, although it did also augment the genes for longevity. So, as we were talking about PM, the PM formula was designed for cellular repair and cellular function and detoxification. And so again, this study seemed to document exactly what we had intended to create in the formulas. So AM/PM Essentials actually has now shown proof that it may have anti-aging effects on activating specific genes involved in stem cell function and longevity and extended health. And our game plan is to produce and do more research studies to further document the level of veracity that this study showed. So AM's daytime needs, what do we really need? To function ideally in the morning, we need protein and we need fatty acids from our diet. These create new proteins that fuel our muscles, maintain our immune system, which we're going to talk about in quite a bit, and mental focus and the chemicals that cause our brain to work more optimally. There's 2 types of protein we need also. One is for immediate energy and muscle restoration, and the other is long-term digestible protein, so that that protein can be available even after we're exercising and continue to build muscle. Digestive support to get more micronutrients and macronutrients from the food we eat, okay? And probiotics and prebiotics for intestinal health. Now, why is that important? It's because most of our immune function comes from our small intestine. There's little areas of patches of tissue that absorb protein, absorb nutrients, and create the immunoglobulins that are really the basis of our immune function. And so when we start to look at the YES system to see, gee, what products could we put together that we already have that could potentially enhance this? So we looked at the impact of AM and PM and Zen and protein and Zen Prime. And what we found is that both Mark McDonald and myself found and that when you take these 2 products together, your body composition not only improves quicker, but you get a more enhanced result. And again, this goes right back to the YES system's tenets of synergy of the products we have in the YES system. So this is important to keep in mind. AM and PM supply an ideal environment for decreasing body fat and increasing muscle mass, as well as helping your immune function. So why is this important? Because in today's environment, where we're all threatened by many different components that can weaken our immune system, we want to maintain our immune system in its ideal focus and function. So the three things, when we look at, again, the YES system, we see AM, PM having the antioxidants, the DNA repair potential. We look at increasing the macronutrients and micronutrients from the food we eat, and we look at pre and probiotics. Zen supplies the proteins we need to make our immunoglobulins, to build muscle, to keep our body composition ideal, to keep inflammation levels down. Zen Prime has our prebiotics and probiotics as well. But what about Vita Blue? So Vita Blue is one of the few new products on the market, and we're lucky to have this in Jeunesse, that has actually been shown to release greater numbers of stem cells. And the more numbers of healthy stem cells that we have that have been released, the stronger our immune function is, and the more our body can continue to actually regenerate the damage and restore the damage that has occurred throughout the day or week or whatever our bodies are exposed to. So let's take a quick look at this whole new concept. So AM basically is a genetically programmed software we have in our cells that actually runs the AM genetic program for energy, focus, and body mass to help limit our body fat and increase our muscle mass. Okay, in PM, we'll get into that in more detail in our next series of lectures, and that's sleep, repair, and detoxification. But here's the secret. Some people say to me, gee, I just like the AM, or other people say, no, I just take PM. You have to understand something. The system has been designed to work together to rebalance this whole evolutionary genetic program about sleeping and being awake. And yes, you can take just AM alone for energy or PM to sleep. The impact of the product won't be nearly as great as if you take these together. Because again, we've learned now how to look at DNA as, if you will, genetic software, and we're now learning how to activate those key genes. So let me make, this is a great slide that I love to show, because if you look at AM and PM and you pull that label back off the back of the bottle, you're going to go, oh my God, who would ever believe all these ingredients could be in 2 tablets in the morning and 2 in the evening? So we did a little experiment. We went to one of the most well-known chains of nutritional supplement stores and bought every ingredient that you see in AM and every ingredient you see in PM. Well, guess what? You would have to swallow these many capsules and tablets daily to get the same benefit that you get at AM and PM. In fact, you get so much more benefit from this form than taking those tablets. Also, we looked at the price point. It was well over $400 to buy these separate compounds and ingredients on their own, but you really couldn't even swallow all those. So in summary, if we've begun to look at ourselves as, if you will, biological beings running on genetic software, the first question that people ask me is, well, Dr. G, if that's the case, who are the programmers? So what I say to you, something very interesting, is we are the programmers. It's the supplements you take that activate or deactivate the genes we now know that are ideally involved in optimal aging. It's your diet, it's your exercise, it's the level of stress in your life and how you handle stress. But most importantly, in the 21st century, we don't get those natural ingredients in plants, vegetables, fruits, digestive enzymes that we used to get decades or even hundreds of years ago, before we were being conditioned to eat, if you will, fast foods and condensed foods in today's modern day manufacturing of foods. AM/PM helps restore those natural ingredients, and the ingredients have been chosen based on the latest research we know, specific ingredients which can turn back on the genes that are involved in healthy long-term aging and turn off the genes that are involved in accelerating the aging process, causing more inflammation, inhibiting our immune function. So when the question arises, who's the programmer? The answer is simple. We are. And we have within our hands the potential to actually change the genes that are involved in more ideal cellular aging and decrease the genes that accelerate that process. So AM/PM, think of it when you're speaking to people as a distributor or speaking to new potential people, you have to be clear to them that say, yes, everyone has vitamins and minerals. Vitamins and minerals in AM/PM are about 20% only of what the total ingredients are. So what you really have to explain to them that this is a whole new product based on helping to have your genes work more optimally for ideal aging and to slow the genes that cause accelerated aging. So this is a whole new concept based on the latest research in what we call epigenetics. So in summary, and as I close, I want to stress one very important thing. And I say this, I just finished saying this at our big global meeting in Orlando this past week. You know, information, the information we read about, the information we hear, the information we're given is tremendously important. And at Juness, we try to bring you the latest scientific information on staying healthy, well, and youthful. So I want to leave you with some of these thoughts. You know, information, new information changes how you think. Your thoughts change your habits. Your habits actually change your activity, and your activity changes your genes. So at Juness, we're not just focusing on supplements, but we're focused on education, because education also changes your genes. And you know, once your mind is open to a new concept, it never returns to that limited state it was in before. So the final word I'm going to leave you with is, you know, none of us should just hope to get healthier or better. It's really about creating your own health with information and being involved with the right people, the right company. And the best way to predict your future health is to create it. And that's what we're all here at Juness to help you do. Be the programmer of your genetic software. Be the one who helps create your future health. And every one of us, no matter how healthy we feel we are, can definitely experience an enhancement of the quality of health we have now. So I want to thank you all tonight this afternoon, actually, we're in Australasia, where you are. And I want to thank Rachel for allowing me to share this information with you. So Rachel, thank you very much. And I'm here looking forward to the next couple of sessions we have to really educate our distributors and our Juness family.
Thank you, Dr. G. It's always a pleasure to have you. And I love that closing statement. The best way to predict your future health is to create it. And we are truly blessed. When I say we, I mean us Juness staff, distributors, are truly blessed to have products like this at our fingertips, that we have the ability to create our future health. So thank you again, Dr. G. It's a pleasure to have you. I hope you all enjoyed that, and stay tuned for session 2 next week.
My pleasure. Have a great day and stay safe and healthy.